Hi friends, Ephemera here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing with you how I created this layout using the Simple Vintage Lakeside collection by Simple Stories. And as you can see here, scrolling through the website, showing you the full collection, it's a very masculine collection with a very strong hint of camping, fishing, any forest exploration. I do not have anybody in my surrounding who does a lot of camping or fishing or anything of the kind, so at first I was a little bit overwhelmed as to how I was going to use it. However, I shouldn't have worried. It's a beautiful collection and actually more versatile than it first appeared. I decided to use some photographs of Sophia in the forest while we were having some walks in our nearby woods and they worked perfectly with this. I am scrolling through the whole collection so that you can get a good look. I decided to use the banners from the banner sticker sheet. It's a part of the collection that I very rarely use, and I wanted to make a point of using it because it's something that comes with, I think, all of the Simple Vintage collections, and I've until now never used them, so it really was a challenge that I set to myself to use those banners. I first mounted it onto some cardstock and roughly cut it behind it just to remove the stickiness of the stickers, because I knew I wanted to use it more like an ephemera rather than a sticker. I then went on to individually glue all my photographs in the frames. I found it very easy to do, as well as very useful, because all those frames, as you can see, are already embellished by how they are printed, and I have to be honest, they make your job so much easier later on. By the way, I'd love to know, please tell me in a comment if it's something that you use already. Do you use those banners? Is it something that you find easy to use, or is it something else in your stash and in a collection that you struggle to use and you would like to get some tips on how to put into your layout? Let me know in a comment if there's anything you'd like to see how to use, or if there's anything that you actually love to use that you rarely see on other projects. So once all my photographs have been added behind the frame, so I'm roughly cut in, and when I say roughly cut in, I make sure it doesn't show up over the sides, but I do lift things a little bit just so that I can cut behind it, but I'm not overly precise. As long as it doesn't show through, I'm happy as to where it cuts. I don't spend hours and hours on cutting the behind. I will show you one day what I mean by that, and so keep an eye on my videos being released. Make sure you subscribe and like these videos, and like that you'll be aware when I release a new video where I could show you more tips as to what I mean by how I roughly cut the photo behind the frame. I then selected 3 pattern paper. It's actually 2 sheets, but we've got 3 patterns. And these I chose colors that would be more easy to use for me, for Sophia, that wouldn't clash with what she's wearing, as well as the background. I'm also a sucker for teal colors, so I was right in my element with these ones. They are gorgeous. They also are a little bit more feminine. I decided that the pattern with fish or ducks or even the moose was not appropriate for this layout, and when I mean not appropriate, it just didn't work with the story I was telling. It was in a forest, we were nowhere near a lake. Obviously we don't have moose or bear in the British woods, so I chose papers that were a little bit more feminine and also that had a pattern that would work better with our story. Once I was happy with where I was going to place my banner, I then added a lot, and I mean a lot, of double-sided sticky foam pad. I added them on top of each other to create a lot of volume and a lift. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't squashing the rolls that I had created around my paintbrush handle. And once that was placed, I then went back to fix the last few corners that hadn't been attached, so I mount all the foam pads in my hand, and then once they are on top of each other, I add them to the corners of the banner, making sure that all is secure and attached without going over the rolls, and making sure that everything stays unflattened and we preserve all the volume that was created there. Once that was done, I decided to go through all the ephemera packs. They have some gorgeous leaves and forest imagery into the ephemera pack. I didn't want to use too many mushrooms because it wasn't autumn when those photos were taken, it was early in the spring, and I don't know, I'm not a big fan of mushrooms. I don't go and deliberately add mushrooms to my layout. However, I absolutely love florals and anything that has to do with leaves and plants, so I went on and added loads of leaves. I started by the sticker book simply because these would be more in the background. They are flat and they are being integrated to the pattern paper, and they will create the base onto which I am going to layer the actual ephemeras, which will then add volume and depth to my layout. It just helps it look all a little bit more realistic, and it make it all bring to life. I then curl my leaves, ephemeras, onto the handle of my paintbrush. This also gives them more of a realistic look and helps it all take a life of its own. It doesn't look rigid like an ephemera does normally coming out of the pack. It's not just a straight ephemera, and it really brings everything a bit more a realistic look and appearance. I then went on around the page several times, layering everything until I was satisfied as how much I had added. For me, it was all about creating or recreating the real look of the forest and all the luxurious greenery that is around. I loved the idea of having my little Sophia nested into all those leaves, and the more I added and the more I loved how it looked. I also loved that layer tag, and I wanted to make sure I was going to add it to my layout. It's something that for some reason really struck me. Also, I like the idea of having a little bit of that orange to repeat the butterfly and little element that were on a banner, but also to cut through the green and teal that seemed to be prominent on this layout. I wanted to add a little pop of color somewhere just to add a little zest and wake it all up somehow. It also helped to not just have the banner just being on itself. We've got that orange on the banner, and I wanted it all to leak a little bit more onto the layout. Once that layer tag was attached, I went to choose a sticker that would represent the wording of something that is meaningful regarding the story I'm telling. The story is, like I say, it's very basic. It's one of our walk in the woods, and it's not a special particular memory, although it was one of the first time Sophia collaborated and decided she would pose, and she really played the layer model on this photo shoot, which I could have discussed, but here I really wanted the collection to shine, and as this is part of design team work, and I decided to keep that story for another layout. I chose this puffy sticker, and as you will see in a few minutes, I decided to go with something else with my title, but for the moment we are adding even more volume and texture to our page by adding some butterflies. So I half fold them to make the wings pop up as if they were really in flight and just kissing, landing on the page. And once that's done, I add a little dot of glue just in the center, making sure that only the center is attached and the wings can stay propped up. I am also wanting to add a little butterfly to my title, which I add there. But the more I looked at this title and the less happy I was with it. I'm still playing around with a few butterfly, making sure that it all comes together. But then I wanted to add also a few more cascading wording underneath, and this is where it started to pose a problem. My wording I felt wasn't properly straight on, and I didn't like the bulkiness of it either, so I decided to change it and remove it. And first I had to decide what I was going to replace it with. Once I have gone through all my stickers and my cardstock as well as all the ephemeras, I decided to remove it. By doing that, some of the pattern paper came off behind the sticker, and I decided to glue back what I could in place. Luckily the background is made out of a pattern that is a lot of vintage distressed papers, and I was able to make it all blend back together just by piecing back what had been torn away, as well as adding a little tiny bit of distressing in antique linen, just dabbing it and giving it the color of the rest of the antique paper on the back. You will see once all the stickers as well as the title is added, even though there's still some tearaway showing through, it's actually not visible at all. It is all being blended in. I am then mounting the ephemera I chose onto the double-sided sticky foam pad to bring back some volume, which we had with the foam sticker. However, it's a lot lighter, we've got more greenery showing, and the torn paper is not visible at all, completely blended in, and it works perfectly fine. So as you can see, sometimes you can fix a accident as such, simply because the paper obviously was very clear. I was able to blend it in more easily and it's not visible, so it's a good save on this part. Adding the last little butterfly, giving it some volume again by folding it, and just one little tiny dot attachment of glue. I used some glossy accent for this one to make sure that it would be very solidly attached in place and it wouldn't go anywhere. Now, tidying up all the ephemeras, I always like to have a last look through what's on the desk, and I felt it needed yet again a third little banner. I decided to go again with that orange, and the wording worked still perfectly with the story I was telling. It wasn't something about hunting or fishing, so I was quite happy with the wording, and I attached it with the double-sided sticky foam pad, layering it under the other wording of my layout. I also love the rule of 3, so because we have 3 stickers, I'm quite happy with that. I am then finishing it off with some epoxy dot, and as you can see, this layout came together very easily and quickly thanks to the sticker banner. It's something that I definitely recommend you try. And here's the finished layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you like this video if you enjoyed it, and I really would appreciate if you were considered to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye.